My daughter is 6 days old. She's sleeping in the nursery right now, her tiny chest rising and falling, completely unaware that the woman ringing my doorbell is about to learn what abandonment really means. But let me start at the beginning, because you need to understand exactly what happened before I opened that door. I'm Claire. I'm 31. I have a good job, a mortgage, and a partner named David who was 200 miles away at a work conference when my body decided it was time. I'd driven myself to my parents' house for dinner that night because my mother had sounded almost excited on the phone, and I was still stupid enough to believe that maybe this time would be different. It wasn't. Dinner was pot roast. My father said grace. My brother Marcus wasn't there, which meant I was the sole target of their attention, and not in a good way. I mentioned that David was out of town. My mother said, "Well, that's inconvenient," and kept eating. I was 39 weeks pregnant. I'd been having cramps all day, but I told myself it was nothing. First babies are always late, right? That's what everyone says. Then my water broke. I stood up, felt the rush, looked at my parents with eyes I'm sure were wide. "My water just broke," I said. My voice was calm. "I need to get to the hospital." My mother looked at me. Then she looked at the wet spot on her dining chair. Then she rolled her eyes. "You're not in labor," she said. "Sit down and finish your dinner." A contraction hit. Small, but real. I put my hand on the table. "Mom, my water broke. I need a hospital." My father didn't look up. He cut another piece of pot roast, chewed it slowly, swallowed. "Figure it out yourself," he said. "We're eating." I want to be clear. I was standing in their dining room, leaking amniotic fluid onto their floor, having contractions that were now 4 minutes apart. And they kept eating. My mother eventually handed me a towel without making eye contact. My father asked me to move so he could see the television. I walked out. I drove myself to the hospital. I cried through every contraction, not from the pain, although there was plenty, but because something in my chest finally broke. The small, hopeful part of me that still believed they would ever show up for me went silent. 7 hours later, I delivered a baby girl. David made it with 2 hours to spare, having driven through the night after I finally called him from the parking lot. He held my hand. He told me I was incredible. He asked where my parents were. "At home," I said. "Asleep." He didn't push further. 6 days passed. 6 days of sleepless nights and learning to breastfeed. I didn't call my parents. They didn't call me. I told myself I was done. I told myself I wouldn't let them near my daughter. Then, on day 6, the doorbell rang. I looked through the peephole. My mother stood on my porch, holding a pink gift bag, wearing her best grandmother smile. Behind her, on the street, my father was getting out of their car. They'd both come. I took a breath. I thought about the dinner table, the eye roll, the pot roast, the words, "Figure it out yourself." I opened the door. My mother tried to step inside. I blocked the doorway with my body. "We're so excited to meet her," she said, like nothing had happened. I looked at her, then at my father, who was walking up the path, then back at her. "You don't get to call yourself a grandmother," I said. "You don't get to show up now. You don't get to hold her." Her smile faltered. "Claire." "No," I said. "You made a choice. You chose dinner. You chose your comfort. You chose to let your pregnant daughter drive herself to the hospital because you couldn't be bothered to leave the table." My father reached the porch. "That's enough," he said. "We're here now. Let us in." I didn't move. "You're not coming in," I said. "Not today. Not ever." My mother's face crumpled. But I wasn't finished. "Here's the thing you don't know yet," I said, reaching into my pocket. I'd been waiting for this moment for 6 days. I'd prepared for it. I pulled out a folded legal document. My grandmother's codicil. The one my parents had never bothered to read. "This is from Grandma's will," I said. "She left everything to me. The land. The stocks. Everything you thought was yours. She left it to me because she watched you ignore me for 30 years. I handed the paper to my mother. "Read it." She took it with shaking hands. My father stepped closer to look over her shoulder. I watched their faces change in real time as they read. Confusion. Disbelief. Then something darker, realization. "That's not possible," my mother whispered. "It's notarized," I said. "It's legal. And it's not the only thing I prepared. I pulled out my phone, opened a voice memo, pressed play. My father's voice came through the speaker. Figure it out yourself. We're eating. Then my mother's. You're not in labor. Sit down and finish your dinner. The recording was clear, unmistakable. I'd started recording the moment my water broke because somewhere in the back of my mind, I already knew I would need proof. My mother's face went white. My father's jaw tightened. You recorded us, he said. I documented the truth, I said. And I've already sent that recording to every aunt, every cousin, and every family friend who has a phone number. They all know exactly what you did. They all know what you said. My mother started crying. Real tears this time. But I felt nothing. That's not all, I said. I've also filed a legal notice removing you as my emergency contacts. I've changed my will. And if either of you ever tries to claim grandparent rights or asks me for a single dime, I will release the full recording to every person you've ever worked with. My father took a step toward me. You wouldn't. I didn't flinch. Try me. At that moment, a car pulled up behind theirs. My Aunt Karen, my mother's own sister, got out. I'd called her 20 minutes ago, right after I saw my parents' car turn onto my street. I'd told her to come. Karen, my mother said, wiping her eyes. What are you doing here? Aunt Karen walked up the porch steps, looked at my mother, then at me. Claire called me, she said. She played me the recording. I heard what you did. What both of you did. My mother reached for her sister. Karen, it was a mistake. Aunt Karen stepped back. No. You left your pregnant daughter to drive herself to the hospital while you finished pot roast. There's no mistake big enough to cover that. She turned to me. I'm here to see the baby. If you'll let me. I nodded. Stepped aside. Aunt Karen walked into my house. My parents stood on the porch, frozen. My mother was sobbing now. My father looked like he wanted to hit something. You're destroying this family, he said. I looked him straight in the eye. No, Dad. You destroyed it at the dinner table. I'm just cleaning up the mess. I stepped back inside. And then, just before I closed the door, I delivered the final blow. The stocks Grandma left me? I used them to pay off my mortgage last month. The house is mine, free and clear. You can't threaten me with anything anymore. No money, no power, no access to me or my daughter. You have nothing. My mother dropped the pink gift bag. It fell to the porch floor with a soft thud. I closed the door, locked it, leaned against the wood. Through the window, I watched them stand there. My mother crying. My father yelling at no one. They didn't knock again. They just stood. And then my father's phone rang. I saw him look at the screen. His face went pale. It was his boss. I knew because I'd also sent the recording to his company's HR department 30 minutes ago. My father had built his career on being a family man. The recording proved otherwise. He answered. Listened. His face crumbled. That was the real-time consequence. And it had only just begun. My father stood on my porch, phone pressed to his ear, his face draining of color. My mother had stopped crying long enough to stare at him, confused. I watched through the window, my back still against the door. My daughter was asleep in her nursery. Aunt Karen was waiting in the living room, holding a cup of tea I'd poured for her. But I couldn't move yet. I needed to see this. I can explain, my father said into the phone. His voice was tight, desperate. It's not what it sounds like. My daughter is, she's exaggerating. She's always been dramatic. I could hear the voice on the other end, muffled but sharp. A woman's voice. His boss, Margaret. She'd been at my parents' wedding. She'd watched me grow up. She'd sent me a gift when I graduated college. Now she was hearing her family man, employee, tell his pregnant daughter to figure it out yourself, while his wife rolled her eyes. Margaret, please, my father said. This is a private family matter. The call ended. He lowered the phone, stared at it. My mother grabbed his arm. What happened? What did she say? He didn't answer. He just looked at the door. At me, watching through the glass. I'm on administrative leave, he said finally. Pending investigation. My mother gasped. For what? You didn't do anything wrong. He told his pregnant daughter to figure it out herself while she was in labor, I said through the door. Loud enough for them to hear. That's what he did wrong. My mother spun toward the door. Claire, open this door right now. You're ruining your father's career. His reputation. Everything he's worked for. Everything he's worked for was built on a lie, I said. He's not a family man. He's a man who let his daughter drive herself to the hospital so he could finish pot roast. The truth was going to come out eventually. I just sped up the timeline. My mother pressed her hands against the door. Please. Please, Claire. We'll do anything. Just call Margaret back. Tell her you were emotional. Tell her you made it up. I laughed. I couldn't help it. You want me to lie? After you spent 6 days not calling me? After you showed up here acting like nothing happened? No. My father stepped up to the door. His voice was low. Controlled. The voice he used when he wanted to scare me as a child. Claire, open the door. We're going to talk about this like adults. We're not talking about anything, I said. You had your chance to talk at dinner. You chose silence. Now I'm choosing mine. I turned away from the door. Walked to the living room. Sat down next to Aunt Karen. Through the window, I could see my parents still standing on the porch. My mother was on her phone now, probably calling Marcus. My father was pacing, running his hands through his hair. My God, Aunt Karen said quietly. I've known your mother for 50 years. I've never seen her like this. Good, I said. Maybe now she'll understand what it felt like to be alone in a hospital bed, crying through contractions, knowing your own parents were sitting at a dinner table 10 miles away, choosing pot roast over you. Aunt Karen put her hand on mine. I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner. None of us did. You see it now, I said. That's what matters. 30 minutes passed. My parents didn't leave. Marcus arrived in his beat-up truck, parking behind Aunt Karen's car. He stormed up the porch steps, arms swinging. Claire, open the damn door, he shouted. You're breaking Mom's heart. I opened the door. Just a crack. Enough to see him. Marcus, I said. You borrowed $40,000 from Mom and Dad that you never paid back. You crashed 3 cars they bought you. You dropped out of college twice. And they still think you're the perfect child. I paid for my own life. I never asked them for anything. And they left me to give birth alone. So please, tell me again who's breaking whose heart. He opened his mouth. Closed it. Nothing came out. I didn't think so, I said. And I closed the door. My mother started screaming. Not words. Just a raw animal sound. She pounded on the door with both fists. I didn't flinch. Aunt Karen stood up. I'll handle this, she said. She walked to the door, opened it, and stepped outside. I watched through the window as she faced her sister. Linda, Aunt Karen said, you need to leave. Now. You're not helping. You're just making it worse. My mother pointed at the door. At me. She's destroying us. She recorded us. She sent it to everyone. She recorded the truth, Aunt Karen said. And honestly, if you'd done that to my daughter, I'd expect the same thing. You abandoned her. Both of you. And now you're facing the consequences. That's not destruction. That's accountability. My mother looked at her sister like she'd been slapped. Aunt Karen turned to my father. Tom, get your wife in the car. And don't come back here until you're ready to apologize. A real apology. Not one you're forced into because you got caught. My father didn't move. He just stared at the door. At me. You think this is over, he said. You think a recording and a phone call to my boss is going to fix anything? We're your parents. We'll always be your parents. And one day, you're going to need us. I opened the door one last time. Stepped onto the porch. Stood face to face with him. I needed you 6 days ago, I said. I needed you to put down your fork and drive me to the hospital. I needed you to hold my hand and tell me I was going to be okay. I needed you to be my parents. And you said no. So no, Dad. I'm never going to need you again. Because I've already survived the worst thing that could happen to me. And I did it alone. Without you. I turned to my mother. You wanted to be a grandmother. But grandmothers show up. Grandmothers don't roll their eyes when their daughter's water breaks. You lost that title the moment you chose a dinner plate over your own grandchild's birth. My mother collapsed against Marcus. He caught her, glaring at me over her shoulder. You're dead to us, Marcus said. Good, I said. Then we're even. I walked back inside. Closed the door. Locked it. And for the first time in 31 years, I didn't feel guilty. Aunt Karen stayed for 2 hours. She held my daughter. She made me eat something. She told me she was proud of me. When she left, the porch was empty. My parents' car was gone. The pink gift bag was still there, lying on its side, a stuffed bear spilling out onto the concrete. I left it there. My father's HR investigation concluded 3 days later. He wasn't fired, but he was demoted, transferred to a smaller office. His family man reputation never recovered. My mother stopped posting on Facebook. Her book club dropped her. One by one, her friends stopped calling. Marcus still owes my parents $40,000. They still pretend he doesn't. And me? I'm sitting here right now, typing this, while my daughter sleeps in my arms. She's 3 weeks old. She has no idea what happened on that porch. She never will. Because she's going to grow up knowing exactly what love looks like. What showing up looks like. What it means to be chosen. My parents tried to call me last week. I let it go to voicemail. The message said, "We're sorry you feel that way." Not an apology. Not accountability. Just a polite way of saying they still don't understand. Maybe one day they will. Maybe they won't. Either way, it's not my job to teach them anymore. My job is to teach her. And I'm already doing a better job than they ever did.